Did you all know that I have a subreddit? Well, I certainly forgot that I did. But if you have a story you want to send my way, you can do so there at r/theravensdream, or you can still send it my way from the website at astheravendreams.com. Both are viable options, and both are appreciated. And of course, thank you. I don't know if this will post. It's my 5th attempt, but I've been fighting bizarre technological glitches that make me think the matrix or simulation we may be in is trying to alter who I am. Okay, I know how that sounds, but let me explain. Ever since New Year's Day, things like the fingerprint scanner at my job won't recognize me. The company insists it's the best one on the market, and no one out of hundreds of employees has single issues with it. They have to re-enter me almost daily. The tech guy has even said that I must deliberately be trying to mess with the machine, even getting to the point of him grabbing my wrist and twisting it to look at my fingers. I normally would punch someone in their face for such an aggressive physical contact with me, but he's related to the higher-ups in the company, so I'm not about to lose my job over this. I did say in a joking tone, hey, no aggressive touching without consent. Do we need an adult or something? He didn't laugh. But this glitch is now regularly occurring, and only with me. My cell phone iris reader does the same thing, so I had to disable it and go back to manually entering the code to unlock my phone. I wish it stopped there, but the automatic doors in most stores are doing the same kind of thing, although not every time. Walmart, Home Depot, and at least 4 other stores that I go to walk in or out of, and the doors won't open. In the past few times, I stood there waving my arms like an idiot, walking around and just, nope, they won't open. Then someone else walks up and they open right away. Last night, a worker saw that it didn't do anything until it opened for the other person, and she just said, "Huh, that's weird." Now, this seems to be a pattern that's spreading. I now have things like copy machines, several coffee machines, cell phones. They all just freeze up or do weird stuff. I went to make coffee at work and it kept pouring the coffee instead of stopping. It wasn't like I picked a large and put in a small cup. No, it was set on large, the biggest size, and I had the proper sized cup. It just wouldn't stop. I had to shut off the power to it after it overflowed and kept going. Now I've been trying to post this for 2 weeks. My phone glitches, losing the post, or it doesn't upload it. Since the 2 weeks of my failure to post, people, friends, family, and colleagues keep insisting I am saying or thinking things that I'm not. I don't understand what is happening. A quick example, a person would insist that I'm thinking blue. I say no, I'm thinking red. The person will instantly get mad and call me a liar. For one, it's never anything important enough for me to lie about, and second, it's never anything important to the person to get so mad about, regardless of what I'm thinking. It's not just a job issue, it's simple things like my colleague insisting that I lied about what time I normally go to bed. He got so mad that he stormed out of the room. I sat there just thinking, what the hell is happening? I've been called a liar when I said that they didn't have any avocados at the store, for not being thirsty, for feeling tired, happy, and for not feeling or thinking anything. I asked why I would lie about stuff like that. It just seems that people now want me to feel a certain way or to think a certain way and cannot process when I'm not. It's feeling like they're running on a script, and their fight or flight kicks in when I am off the script. I don't know. It feels like I'll never escape these glitches and never truly be free. I do just want to add, as I posted this, my phone went from 27% to 3%, and as I went to plug in my phone to charge, the power went out in the break room that I'm currently sitting in. So I'm in the dark, and now on 1%. I can't take much more of this. It's gotta end one way or the other. Greetings. I'm submitting this story to you, Raven, not because it's a perfect fit for a glitch tale, but because in my head I can clearly hear your voice reading it. Also, since 2004, when it occurred, my husband and I still occasionally discuss what happened and remain completely baffled. I guess we're kind of hoping that some of your listeners have had a similar experience. This happened during a spectacular thunderstorm with truly terrifying lightning, making the entire sky look like it was exploding with electricity. This may or may not be a factor in what occurred. I'd been watching satellite TV, which suddenly winked out. I warily unplugged my computer and some appliances, including the TV for good measure. The electric lights in the room remained on. After about 20 minutes, for lack of anything better to do, I pulled out my new Nokia 7650 cell phone to play with the camera, which was a novelty since we were definitely unacquainted with digital photography. I was scanning the living room, looking through the cell phone lens, and as I passed it across the dark gray TV screen, I clearly saw the image of a man's face, stationary, with a penetrating stare in tones of black and white. I screamed for my husband, telling him to bring his Nokia camera with him. I had noticed that I only saw the face clearly when looking through the cell phone camera lens. My husband appeared from his office, phone in hand, and followed my gaze to the TV screen. When he looked through his camera, I heard a sharp intake of breath, and when I looked again, there were two men's faces on the screen that were somewhat similar because of the old-fashioned hairstyles and collars. We both snapped pictures, just hoping that we were doing it right, and upon looking at the result, were amazed to see three faces. The third man was blonde and stationary, like the others, but he had a slightly amused expression on his face. Then we both noticed a fourth man's face coming into view in the upper right corner of the TV screen, but the nose was slightly distorted, as if slightly smeared. I am happy to report that none of the faces were frightening. All four men were youngish and even good-looking, with only the first face I'd spotted displaying a serious expression. We watched about 5 minutes longer, until the faces slowly faded away. We had no idea what to do with the photos, which were not nearly as clear as the image we'd seen on the TV. Note, the 2002 Nokia 7650 had a 176 by 208 pixel display. The iPhone 5, in contrast, has an 8 megapixel camera with autofocus flash and built-in face detection. I finally uploaded the photos to a website designed for sharing photos, but we were disappointed to find that our images shown on the website seemed almost exploded, and were hardly recognizable unless you had seen the originals. Neither my husband nor I had been drinking, and neither of us had ever had a paranormal experience. We had heard of instrumental transcommunication, or ITC, whereby electronics were used to contact our dimension from, supposedly, other worlds or the afterlife. You can believe me when I say we studied the subject at length, but never saw any stories quite like ours where an unplugged and cooled down TV set showed images that were only clear when looking through a first-generation digital camera. We were also puzzled why the images appeared old-fashioned, almost like daguerreotypes. I like to think that these gentlemen were attempting to contact us for some reason, but I find it unlikely. However, there was a follow-up event several months later involving another TV in our house, which will be another story, should this one intrigue you. Which, yes, it did intrigue me, so if you want to send that other story my way, please go ahead and do so. This isn't written in the submission, I'm just saying this off script because I would like the other story. Please. One day, I'm hanging out with my roommates in their room. Let's call them Jesse and Carrie. They're each on their respective computers while I'm lounging back on the futon bed. There's a knock on the door, and in walks his mom. We'll call her Lorna. We say hi and exchange the usual pleasantries, and then in through the door walks her husband. Let's call him Rob, and his dog. I'm at a complete loss for words. Frozen in place. I'm unable to move or speak, yet I'm trembling all over. In my, what is the right word? A reality, timeline, or dimension? Life 2 years earlier, not only had this man's dog died, after which they had gotten another dog that they only had for a short time, all of this took place while he was suffering from cancer, which he eventually died of. I'm laying on this futon, staring at a dead man and his dead dog, and everyone else is just talking back and forth, laughing, etc., acting as if this is all perfectly normal. Words wouldn't form. I wanted to jump up and run, but was completely immobilized, laying there, just motionless with my mouth hanging open. Eventually they left, after asking if I was okay or needed anything. Clearly, I was noticeably shaken. At this point, Jesse and Carrie turn to me and ask me what the hell is wrong with me and why I'm acting so weird. I'm not even sure what to say. I'm still totally confused and disoriented. The following is the dialogue that ensued. Me. Okay, I know this is going to sound really weird, but didn't Rob's dog die a couple of years ago? And then they got this other dog that they didn't have for very long? Jesse. His dog never died, and Lorna did get another dog, but someone else ended up taking the dog from her. Me. And then didn't Rob die of cancer around that same time? Carrie. He did have cancer, and he almost died, but he had to turn around and beat it. Me. This is really freaking me out. Jesse, I remember him dying. I remember talking to you about the funeral, and about how messed up your mom was over losing him. I remember her going and living in a homeless camp for a while with some abusive guy that you absolutely hated, that you eventually got her away from. Did that not happen? Jesse. Oh yeah, that did happen. Except that Rob didn't die. He recovered from the cancer. They just broke up for a while, and that all happened while they were separated. Me. And before he died, or they broke up or whatever, they lived here in city name, over on 15th Street, right? It was a duplex with a long hallway with 4 other doors. They had a room at the end that was really small. We took a TV over to them and they could barely fit it through the bedroom door. Carrie. Yeah, they did live on 15th, but it wasn't a duplex. It was a townhouse, and their room was on the second floor. But yeah, it was really small and at the end of the hallway, and we did bring a TV over to them that they didn't really have room for. We all just sat there, looking at each other. I've known these people for 17 years. We know each other well. They could see how adamant and shook up that I was, and it actually shook them up too. None of us knew what to say. This incident is how I found out about the Mandela effect. Carrie came across it while trying to find an explanation for what had happened. None of us will ever forget that day. I don't know if this was a Mandela effect, or a glitch in the Matrix, or something entirely different. You know, from all the rips in the fabric of space-time, complimentary of CERN. As my knowledge and understanding of the subject evolves, I'm beginning to think that these are not two separate things occurring, but are both aspects or symptoms of a larger, as of yet, unknown phenomenon. I have some pretty in-depth theories on what that might be, but I'd like to hear what others think. This happened about 3 years ago. I had recently switched positions at Walmart. I started working on Fresh Cap 2. The shifts were 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Back then, we worked bakery, deli, meat, and produce. We were also the ones usually put in charge of working the 97 wall, lunch meat, Lunchables, and bacon. One night, around maybe 9:30 p.m., our team was told to stock as much of the 97 wall as we could. As me and a teammate are working, our team lead calls over to me and asks me to clean up the water on the floor in front of the deli counter. I'm not very good at estimated distances, but the deli counter is maybe 30 feet away from the 97 wall, and not very far at all. You can see part of the deli counter from 97. I had a box of lunch meat with a couple of items left in it. I get a little frazzled sometimes when making decisions quickly, so I kind of went back and forth in my mind deciding whether I should quickly stock the items left in the box, or hurry to clean up the water. My team lead made it sound urgent, so I ended up setting the box with the items in it down on the shelf, and went to grab paper towels. I thought to myself, quickly clean up the water, and then you can finish this box and a cart of freight. After I finished cleaning up all the water, which only took a few minutes, I went back over to finish stocking that box that I had left. But when I returned, the box was gone. I saw it had been broken down already, sitting on the cardboard cart. I was confused, so I asked my teammate who was there the whole time if she had worked it for me, and said that she didn't have to, as I was going to come back for it. What she told me freaked me out. She said that I did it. She said she saw me stock the items, and then even pull out my box cutter to break the box down. I have no memory of that. All I remember is contemplating whether or not I should stock it before or after cleaning up the water spill, and then choosing to clean up the spill first. But she said that she saw me do it. I was pretty freaked out afterwards. I'm a Gemini, so I joked that it was my second alternate personality that came out and did it for me. Or that me from another dimension slipped through to do it. I don't know, but it still weirds me out thinking about it from time to time. I don't know if it was a glitch in the dimensions, universe, or just a glitch in my mind. I wanted so badly to ask management if they could show me the cameras to see what happened, but I knew they wouldn't, though. They would just look at me like I was a lunatic. This literally just happened like 10 minutes ago. I'm 20 female, my boyfriend is 20 male, and we're up early waiting to go to the tag and title office. We're running some menial errands in the meantime, while we wait for the office to open. We have a busy downtown street that the office is adjacent to. The street is full of cute local shops and restaurants. We're driving down the street, and at the very end of the street, I look out the driver's side window, so the left of me, and see The Spot, which is a new hip restaurant that just opened up. I was bewildered because The Spot should be on the right side and towards the front of the street. I would know as I've eaten there before, and I also work at a restaurant that's right behind them. I point it out to my boyfriend and say, "What the heck? The Spot has a second location on the same street?" And my boyfriend acts like it's always been there. "What are you talking about? And that's where we ate with our neighbors that one time." And I was like, "No, the spot we went to is to the right, by the old Littles. It's on the other side and toward the front of Canal Street." My boyfriend kind of blew me off like he didn't want to argue with me. I was just so confused. I looked at the spot, I saw the building next to it, and I noticed that it was the exact same, but mirrored where the sign was facing the same direction to counteract the fact that it was on the left side of the street now. I know I wasn't seeing a reflection because we were all the way at the end of the street. I loop through the drive down the street again in the same direction. I find the spot that I remember, exactly where it should be. Now it's on the right of me. All the signs are facing the right way. We are at the beginning of the street. The buildings around it are the same as always. I point it out yet again and say, "See, there's the location that I remember. Why is there two?" This time, my boyfriend has absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. I explain what just happened, and he doesn't understand and just starts teasing me. I was annoyed and decided to show him, so I continued to drive down the street. I get to where I saw the other spot, and it wasn't there. I am so confused right now. This literally just happened, and I know what I saw. I drove down the street 3 more times looking in both directions, and there was only the one spot, exactly where it should be. I am so bewildered right now. I have no idea what just happened. My spouse and I took a trip in 2012 across several states. We live in a fairly small town, and the only airport close by is pretty tiny, so I'm not used to really seeing planes take off. In one particular big city that we drove through, the main road/interstate goes straight through the city, and the airport is nearby. I had 2 point-and-shoot cameras out, alternating taking photos with each. One took crisper photos, but the color tended to be blander, and the other one had a cool, bold color effect. While we're driving, a passenger jet takes off, and is super low above the road that we're on. It looked like it was moving super slow, which I didn't think anything of at first, because I know angles and etc. can make it look deceiving. It was very large in our view, taking up a decent hunk of the sky space above the road, and close enough to see a pretty good bit of detail. It looked almost like it was going to land on the road in front of us, and that's how close it was. And all this is just to give you an idea of why the next part of the story was so strange. I lifted up my first camera to take a picture, and the screen showed everything surrounding the plane and the sky behind the plane, but the plane wasn't there. I looked back up, thinking that I had missed it, but not only was it still in view, it almost looked as if it was stopped midair. So I lifted up the second camera and same thing. It looked like the plane was not there. I switched over to the viewfinder and same, still no plane. My spouse said, that jet looks like it's standing still. I looked back down at my camera long enough to just sit it down on my lap, so a second tops, and when I looked back up, the plane was gone. I asked, "Where did it go?" And my spouse replied, "I have no idea. I blinked and it was gone." I kept looking around, expecting it to be higher up but still visible, but I never saw it again. I know that slow shutter speeds can make things vanish from a photo, but I never took one. It was literally just the screen and viewfinder. I can't explain it, but it's driven me nuts ever since, and I'm actually kind of hoping that someone has a reasonable explanation. I live in Europe, specifically in Italy, so forgive me if I make some errors. I was in the car with my mom. I wasn't a child. I was like 17 years old at the time. It was a few years ago when we were pretty much close to home, like 3 kilometers left. Suddenly, the car just stops working, and it happened in a dangerous part of the road. Anyways, we pulled the car over as much as we could, near the edge of the road, and we were trying to figure out what happened. I raised my head, and in the rear view I saw the front of a car, and it was parked behind us. It was so close to ours that for a moment I thought, okay, we're dead. This car is going to crash into ours. Also, we didn't hear a noise, and it seemed that the car magically appeared behind us. A young man, 30 years old maybe, got out of the car behind us. He had black mirrored sunglasses, and he was wearing a white elegant shirt. Then he reaches our car and goes, "What's the issue here?" And we explained to him what happened. After my mom put the neutral gear on the car, I pulled the car with the help of this guy until we reached the safest place to stop the car. Then he returned to his car a few meters back and asked us again if we were okay. There wasn't much else at this point, except for the fact that once he got in the car again to leave us, he went the other way. And it's weird because, logically, a person that's driving in the same direction of travel means that when he's theoretically finished helping someone, he would proceed in that same direction. Also, it felt weird because he acted like we were wasting time explaining the situation to him, like he already knew everything. He never took his glasses off during this entire time as well. My mom told me after all this that when she shook his hand was surprisingly light, like it was matter-free. Of course, my mom thought maybe he was some sort of angel, etc., but in my opinion, I think that there was something else going on in that exact place, and that we shouldn't have been there for a reason, and that the man had us move away very quickly, and I'm sure that he wasn't going anywhere. He was just in that place to do this specific task, and simply disappear. This happened to me a few years back, when I was living overseas, and to this day I've never found a logical explanation. I'd been talking to a friend, and we agreed to have dinner at my place the following night. Knowing I'm a bad cook, he offered to pick up some takeout on his way. About 6 p.m. the next night, He called me to check if I was okay with the local Chinese place. I was. Their food is amazing. As expected, he arrived about 45 minutes later, and the evening was pretty uneventful. We ate, watched some Netflix, talked a lot about nothing much. A few hours later, he went home. Now, here's where stuff gets weird. The morning after this, I get a message from him apologizing that he couldn't make it to dinner last night, and was seeing if I was free tonight instead. My first thought was that he had double booked himself, bailed on the other person, and then accidentally messaged me his apology/reschedule message. I called him to let him know what he had done, and to mock him, if I'm completely honest. Cue both of our utter confusion when he explained that, yes, he did call me at 6 the previous night, but it wasn't to check what food I wanted. It was to tell me he had a bad headache and was going to sleep it off. At this point, I assume he's trying to prank me, and I get a little pissed off. I went to my rubbish bin and took a photo of 2 takeout containers, and even checked my bank account to confirm I hadn't purchased it myself. But now, he thinks I had dinner with someone else instead, and am pranking him to pay him back for not coming over. To avoid a full-blown argument, I just put it down to a weird glitch, and/or me losing my sanity. As I said, the night was uneventful, and he seemed completely normal. But if he was actually sleeping off a headache, then who the hell did I have dinner with that night? Okay, so this glitch happened this morning, and I've spent the rest of the day trying to find a reasonable explanation, and getting more and more disturbed that I can't find one. I recently moved to a new city, and I haven't put my suitcases away. I have, however, taken all the stuff that I needed immediately out. This morning, I was looking for a jewelry box that I packed, and thought I may have left it in the suitcase since I haven't worn any. So I lay it down on the floor, open it up, and I see it's practically empty save for some socks. I close it back up and stand it upright. Here is where the glitch happens. Water starts pouring out of the suitcase when I stand it back up. I lie the suitcase back down and open it frantically, trying to find the source of water, and to think of anything I might have packed that would have caused such a large spill. I hardly packed any liquids, and certainly none that would leak this much, because I was already at my weight limit for luggage. Weirder still, is only one side of the luggage is wet while the other is completely dry. The dry side has a zipper compartment, and I checked inside just in case, and there was nothing there. The wet side also has a zipper compartment that I've never opened, and upon further examination, I realize it's defective because there's no pull on the zipper. I've tried to think of every possible scenario, even going as far as to question if I sleepwalked, which I've never ever done before, opened the suitcase and relieved myself in it last night, but that doesn't explain why A, only one side was wet, and B, why it didn't start leaking until I stood it up again. I do have a picture of the suitcase and spill if anyone's interested. I'm gonna have to stop thinking about this soon because it's just too weird. Last Friday night, I saw that my brother was having adult beverages at the casino at around 10:30 to 11 p.m. We live in a relatively small rural town, around 12 miles apart from each other, so it was no biggie to run over there if I got bored. I was goofing off on a project in the garage, and was gonna go have a beer, but I lost track of time. It was about 12:45 a.m. when I thought, hell, I'll go see if he's home yet and mess with him a bit. I drove to said small town on the highway and went by his house. And the lightweight was already in bed, I guess. His lights were out. I wasn't drinking or doing any of the drugs. I just can't sleep for crap, and I was bored. So I leave out of town, headed east, towards the back way home, as I was just killing time, and I get down the road around half a mile out of town and see a not big pickup or a large old car just from glancing at the headlights. And there's a curve about a half a mile ahead of me that turns south, the same direction the vehicle was coming from, so I went ahead and dimmed my lights. There's the curve in front of me, and another curve going back east about half a mile from the first. The road keeps going east if you don't take the curve, same as going south, but they're rough dirt roads, so you have to go slow getting onto them. I get about, I'd say, about an eighth of the mile from the curve. I glance at the vehicle, and then check my speed. Then I look up, and it was gone. East and south roads are visible to traffic. No houses or lights in between the curves. It's a wheat field with some cows on it right now, and the rancher hasn't gotten them headlamps yet. I went around the curve and then said to myself, where the hell did that go? This incident occurred quite a few years ago, but I can still picture it as if it just happened. I'd been doing some Christmas shopping at South Coast Plaza in Costa Mesa, California. I had stopped for lunch at one of my favorite places to eat, as they have a different beer of the day from all around the world, and this day was one of my favorite ales from England. The waitress had just finished embarrassing me in front of the whole restaurant. After the manager had her come back to card me, I looked way younger than 32, and she screams that back across the room at him. She took my order and brought me my beer. While waiting for my meal, I took a sip and almost immediately did a spit take. A guy just walked past the window, dressed identically to how I was the day before, and to make the matters worse, he stops to look in the window, and it was me. This is not some doppelganger or someone who looks like me. It is me, down to the same congenital defect around the left eye. He's even wearing the same hand-carved wooden cross around his neck as I was currently wearing. I tell the waitress I'll be right back and go running out to see him disappear down the adjacent hallway. When I got there, he was nowhere in sight. When I got back to my table, I was anxious to ask if anyone else had seen him. However, I was just finishing my post-grad work in psych, and I really didn't need anyone questioning my sanity. I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and enjoy being able to appreciate the quantum state of now, constantly working on the past, present, and future states of now. But having rewound 24 hours while I'm watching and trying to eat lunch at the same time, it just doesn't work. So that was this week's Glitch in the Matrix collection, and hopefully it was a collection that you all appreciated and enjoyed. I know for a fact that I enjoyed them mostly because I just finished reading all the stories. And that's right, I read these stories. Obviously. I recorded myself doing so, and put it in this video format for you. I have literally no idea what the hell I'm going on about at this point. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit that thumbs up button. Really, really helps a lot. And if you could, hit that subscribe button. Help my subscriber count grow, because that helps the channel even more. Like, you have no idea. If you really enjoyed the video and want to support the channel growth and kind of push it a little more and push me to do this more, you can hit the join button down below or go to my Patreon, where for $1 a month to get early access to all content like this, so long as I'm ahead, you win, I win, we all win. New posters for the $10 and up patrons going out beginning of next month. I have designed them. They are done. The post is up there. Super excited to get these ones out. These ones are a little more abstract, a little different from my other ones, but they're really, really cool. I like the way it looks. It's very, very blacklight inspired, so very excited for that. Now, this is the part of the video that a lot of you wait for, and that is the word of the week. Word of the week is where I just give you a word, you leave me a comment with said word, I put your sentence on the screen the next week, and we repeat the cycle. Last week's word was relate, and on the screen now is a comment made by every single person that participated in the word of the week. That was a weird way to put that, but there is everybody who participated, and a huge thank you to each and every single one of you, because you all are amazing people. Moving on to this week's word of the week. This week's word of the week is echo. Hopefully I did that effect right, or remembered to do it, otherwise there's going to be a really long stint of silence there. Anyways, an echo is a repetition of a sound by reflection of sound waves from a surface, or a repetition or an imitation, such as echoing something. Like if you're trying to copy them, you are echoing them in their style or something like that. So, echo is the word of the week, and I hope you guys can come up with something. All that said, friends, I hope you have a beautiful day, and I hope I'll see you on the next video. But until then, you beautiful people, sleep well.